Hi guys, and welcome back to another vlog. For those of you who are joining me for the very first time, welcome, and I hope that you will subscribe. For those of you who have already subscribed to my channel, thank you so much for being part of this journey with me. So today's video is about buying your very first car, which is extremely exciting. But before you make that decision, which is a very big decision as well, you need to consider the following things. First of all, the biggest question you need to ask yourself is if you'll be able to afford to buy a car. If you will not be able to afford to buy a car, don't buy it. Do not buy a car if you can't afford it. Also, if you won't be able to afford the luxurious, glamorous German car that you want, don't buy it. It's okay. You can start small. Once you know, so that's the biggest question. You need to be able to be honest and open with yourself and ask yourself, will you be able to afford the car? If not, don't buy it. So once you know, okay, you will be able to afford the car, the next step is deciding how are you going to purchase it. So basically, there are two ways of buying a car. You can buy it cash and you can buy it using a car loan. So these two options have goods and bads. That's not even a word. They have pros and cons. So for the first option, which is buying your car cash, the pros of buying a car cash is that, okay, there are two main nice things about buying a car cash. The biggest thing and the most important thing is that it will be extremely cheap. Buying a car cash is one of the cheapest ways of buying a car. So I would strongly encourage those of you who can buy a car cash to definitely buy cash. The next thing is that once you buy a car, you own it. Whereas if you buy the car using a car loan, you don't really own it until you finished paying the bank off. So it takes a long time for you to own that car. But if you buy the car cash, then you can own it immediately. So the disadvantages of buying a car cash is, first of all, that amount of money that you use to buy the car, you could have saved it somewhere else. You could have saved it or you could have invested it. So, there are a couple of options you could have, decided to engage in or do instead of buying a car. You can invest in property, you can invest in shares, you can invest in bonds. So there are many other things you could have used that money for. So you really need to consider that. And also, the disadvantage of buying a car cash is that your options are limited to what you can afford. That is a good thing, but for some of us who like luxurious things, buying it doesn't really work out, because you want the more expensive, glamorous life. So buying a car cash, it's not it, but I really advise you to buy, not advise, I can't give professional advice, but buying a car cash is one of the best decisions you could do for yourself. The next option, and the common option, is buying the car using a car loan from the bank. The nice thing is that when you buy a car using a car loan, you can look at more expensive cars, and the price of that car you will pay over a longer period of time, which means you can pay small amounts towards that car, and which means that you can buy the car of your dreams and pay for it in little portions, every single month. So that's the nice thing about buying a car cash. But buying a car using a car loan. But the disadvantage of buying a car using a car loan, and the biggest one at that, is the interest rate. So the amount of interest you will pay is usually ridiculous. So it's kind of like if you buy a car for 100,000, at the end of the loan amount, you would have probably paid in total 200,000. So that's the biggest thing about buying a car using a car loan, is the interest you pay the bank. So that for me is just a killer. That for me is a killer. So you need to really consider that. But there are obviously ways around it, and one of the ways around it is that when you buy the car using a car loan, first of all, you need to try and have a large deposit. So you need to save up money so that when you buy a car, you can put in a bit of money to reduce the loan, kind of like. So you need to try and have a deposit. ready for when you buy the car. Second of all, try not to have a balloon payment. But if you're gonna have a balloon payment because you can't really afford the car, try to make sure that that amount is very small. That's my advice. I can't give advice. Make sure that that amount is very small. And then lastly, when you buy a car using a car loan, you have to shop around for the lowest interest rate. So go to different banks and see which bank can give you the lowest interest rate. And also, what affects the interest rate is your credit score. So if you can have a good credit score, then chances are you will have a low interest rate. So really consider those things when you're buying your car. And then after you know how you're going to finance or you're going to pay for the car, the next decision that you have to make is whether you're going to buy a new car or an old car. And for me, honestly, I think buying an old car is a better option. Here's why. If you buy an old car, it is obviously a lot more cheaper than a brand new car. It's going to be a lot more cheaper, which is good for your pockets. And then also, if you buy a secondhand car and you want to get insurance, chances are that insurance is going to be a lot lower than if your car was new. And yeah, so those are the biggest pros for buying a secondhand car is that it's cheap and the insurance is even cheaper, which makes it even a better deal. But obviously, it has its flaws. For instance, if the car is secondhand, chances are there probably will be problems with it with the car. You might have to do a few repairs, so that's going to be more money. So sometimes you really don't want that hassle. But obviously, there are ways around that, and here's how. First of all, when you buy a second-hand car, go to dealerships and try to get demo models. Those are basically good quality vehicles with low mileage or low kilometers. And those are basically cars that dealerships use to get around. So obviously the quality of that kind of car is really good. And second of all, what you can do when you buy a second-hand car is that for if you're gonna buy it from an individual, make sure that you take like a trained mechanic with you who will check the car and see that the car is actually in good condition before you make that payment. And then, or obviously the other option is buying a brand new, and the brand new car, it smells good, and it's more reliable than a second-hand car. And the biggest pro is that it usually has a service plan. So if the car has a service plan, that is great because what that means is that if something in the car were to break, then you can just take it somewhere, have it fixed, and it'll all be covered. So that's a nice thing about having a car with a service plan and a brand new car at that. So it's the service plan. So it's service plan. The advantages of buying a new car is the fact that it's more reliable and the fact that it has a service plan. But obviously, the biggest disadvantage of buying a brand new car is that it is expensive. And there's a way around that. For instance, when you buy your brand new car, make sure to buy a manual instead of an automatic car. Make sure to buy a car that doesn't have leather seats. So try to pick the cheaper option so that you can pay, a very small amount on that car. And then lastly, before you purchase that car, really do your research. Research is very important. You need to read the reviews about that car. You need to read the specs. Does it have what you want? Do like a thorough background check on that car before you buy that car. And then once everything is clear and you are set on buying a car, make sure that when you go to each dealer, you try to negotiate a low price. Go to different dealers and see who can sell the car to you at a very cheap price. And then once you find a dealership, buy the car there. So that's basically my 2 cents on buying a car. So it's a good decision. It's a good step. For some, it's not really a good step. So you really need to sit down, think, and consider your options, and then make that decision that is right for you and your pocket and your bank account. So that is it from me. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you like this video. If you do, click the like button, and please don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you again in the next video. Bye.